Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. I just wanted to put up this video today, make my comment on it. It came from DW.com. That's a German website that has an English translation, and they are very good. They have a lot of information about current events, not just in Germany or the EU, but as well as the United States and worldwide. This one kind of caught my eye. The headline says, Germany won't accept Putin-dictated Ukraine peace. And that's a quote from Olaf Schultz, who is the German Chancellor. It says, Chancellor Olaf Schultz has told lawmakers that Russian President Vladimir Putin had made a mistake if he thought Germany would stop supporting Ukraine. His speech, which preceded a European Union summit, also touched on Gaza. Chancellor Scholz said Germany's lower house on Wednesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin had made a serious error if he thought Germany would relent in supporting Ukraine. Scholz's speech to the Bundestag preceded the EU summit in Brussels to focus on support for Ukraine, the situation in Gaza, and EU enlargement. I suppose that refers to the other countries that are thinking of joining the European Union. I think Bosnia was one of them, maybe Montenegro. I know there's a couple other countries that are toying with trying to get into the EU. What Scholz told the Bundestag in Ukraine. Scholz, who has opposed to the delivery of long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine, nonetheless said Germany was determined to help Ukraine defend itself from Russia's ambitions. That to me makes it sound like Germany is all in with the rest of NATO. Scholz said, if the Russian president believes that he has to just sit out this war and we will weaken our support, then he has himself miscalculated. The center-left social democratic politician added. They said that because I believe that's his party. I believe they call it the SPD, the Social Democrat Party. I think it should be SDP, but anyway, they call it the SDP. I guess the grammar is different or something. The other party, of which Angela Merkel, his predecessor, belonged to, was the CDU, the Christian Democrat Union, or Christian Democratic Union. I believe that the CDU is kind of closer to the Republican Party in the United States, and the SPD is more like the Democrats, but that's not an exact correlation. But the CDU is to the right politically of the SPD. But anyway, he says, we will not accept a dictated peace at the expense of Ukraine, said Scholz, who stressed that borders should not be moved by force. Well, if you look at the history of Europe, they had a heck of a lot of borders moving by force. But let's hope we can avoid that again. Law is stronger than violence, he said, adding that Putin had wanted to change that with the attack on Ukraine, which violated international law. We will not let him get away with this, said the chancellor. Russia is not strong, said Scholz, highlighting the manipulation of the elections in Russia and the pressure on the opposition are signs of that weakness. You mean like trying to jail a political opponent? Or to use the legal system against him? I don't think of any nation in the world where that's going on right now, do you? Anyway, when asked about Gaza, Scholz said that they need a timely, long-lasting ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, including the release of hostages held by Hamas and other Islamic militants. Well, good luck with that. He said more humanitarian aid must reach the Gaza Strip, adding that this must also be achieved with the help of Arab states. Well, that's a tall order. I like the way the guy is thinking because the West can't do this. And the Israelis and Hamas can't seem to work this out together. I think they're going to need some other more rational Arab states to get in there and negotiate some kind of agreement with this. He says, I don't want to raise any false hopes here, but I have the impression at this moment that it is more realistic than it has been for a long time. Of course, Hamas is listed as a terrorist organization in the United States and in the European Union, as well as Israel. Well, that kind of goes without saying. But anyway, I don't know that much about Olaf Schultz. I know that in Germany, they don't elect the president the way we do in the United States. They have a parliamentary system. And if I'm correct, they have the Bundestag and the Bundesrat. I believe that's their upper and lower house. And they have these coalitions where you have about a dozen different political parties. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm an American citizen. I vote in the United States. We've got enough of our own problems going over there. But I try and learn a little bit about what's going on in Europe since we are here, at least until scheduled to be here till next summer. As far as this thing in the Middle East, some people think that Israel is being too harsh in attacking Hamas. Other people say that, well, Israel should keep going until Hamas is exterminated. But how do you exterminate Hamas without killing thousands of innocent Arabs? I know they use the term Palestinian, but a Palestinian could be anybody from that area, really. So, you've got Palestinian Arabs, and the Israelis are what you could call Palestinian Jews. But anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but, it seems like you've got a couple different fronts going on right now internationally. You've got China licking its chops for Taiwan. You've got the Islamic mullahs in Iran, and Iranians are not Arabs, they're Persians. They're encouraging the Houthi rebels, who I believe are in Yemen, and funding them so that they can launch missiles at international ships in the Red Sea. And you've got Hezbollah, who is probably funded by Iran, trying to go in there to attack Israelis. But, there's been a long history of violence between the Shiite Muslims in Iran and the Sunni Muslims who are in some of the Arabic world. So it's just a hot mess over there. But now the thing with Russia, Russia has a very strong military, but, they could do a lot of damage. But, in a war of attrition, who wins? How does Ukraine win against Russia in a war of attrition? This whole thing is a big hot mess. And, maybe I don't know what Putin's game is. The man certainly is not stupid. He may be what we consider crazy, but he knows what he's doing. He's not a fool. Is he just trying to make it so that the Western powers just get tired and give up? Putin says he feels like he's surrounded by NATO. Well, Finland joined. Sweden is now joined. You look at the nations around him, he might feel that way. Is he the aggressor in Ukraine? Absolutely. But is Ukraine a country that doesn't have any corruption and everybody's as pure as the wind-driven snow? No, not at all. So you've got a real hot mess in there. And the American people, I can tell you from being an American, a lot of the taxpayers in the United States are getting really weary about this. We've got an invasion going on at our southern border. We are $34.5 trillion in debt, and we add roughly 1 trillion to our debt every 100 days. And the president wanted another budget that wants to spend $7.3 trillion. There comes a point when you can't get blood from a stone. We're broke. We also face $120 to $180 trillion in unfunded future liabilities on our own country. So, I hope the NATO alliance holds, but a lot of people in the United States are worried they're not getting any bang for their buck. And the longer this goes on and the worse things get at home, especially in an election year, I just wonder if some of the people you would call isolationists people are going to start paying more attention to them. I count myself more as a non-interventionist than an isolationist. I believe there are places where there are U.S. interests, but at what cost is it? How many American lives is it worth for us to keep getting involved in other people's conflicts when we have a lot of our problems at home? I'm not saying Olaf Schultz is right or wrong. I think he's trying to do what he has to do. And Germany has a pretty high stake in this because of the proximity. I don't think Vladimir Putin wants to have Soviet, or I should say Russian tanks running through Berlin anytime soon, but geez, this whole thing is going crazy. And if you got North Korea over there too, you don't know what that guy is crazy. You don't know what he has in mind. And there's just a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. But that article caught my eye, and I wanted to give a shout out to DW.com. I think they have a lot of, they seem to be pretty balanced. They're not really that sensationalistic. And it's good as an American to get news from sources outside the country, like the BBC, Skynet, and even Al Jazeera. They sometimes have some good stuff too. So just one man's thoughts today. I'm sorry I rambled on a little bit long, but take care. If you agree or disagree or have something to add, throw it in the comments, engage with a video. I'm not a professional journalist or anything. I'm just a retired guy trying to keep my mind active by keeping up with the news. So anyway, peace.